It is time for a storyline recap. I haven't done these in quite some time. But the girls and I could not get together and do our normal 1-2 ditty, so it is up to me to ensure you are prepared for the PLE coming this Sunday on June 9th. Let us begin. NXT Battleground is coming, okay? And she is coming for our next. You see, Shawn Michaels, Shawnee Boy, Shawn, if you will, has decided that he is going to put on banger after banger after banger. And he is not slowing down. Nay, he is not. In fact, he has decided to double, triple, and quadruple down on those thoughts. Okay? So let's get into it. NXT Battleground is going to be on Sunday, June 9th, as I said before. And there are quite a few matches that are booked and ready to go. And these matches are as follows. Let's start off with the least relevant, or at least the least of the stories for this match. Okay. Let's get into Gallows and Anderson going up against Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Now, there really ain't much to this, okay? The simplest explanation is that Gallows and Anderson decided to leave the main roster and come over to NXT because it was easier access to the titles. It was another way for them to collect gold. You know them boys that had championships in just about every single company that they have ever come across or worked in. They have literally become one of the most, if not the most, decorated tag team in history. Not in WWE history, but in history as a general overall. Okay? They have titles, multiple title reigns in multiple companies. TNA, New Japan. And I don't know if they had the AEW champions. I don't think they had the AEW champions. But they've been champions multiple times in WWE. And the list goes on because they've been champions in other companies as well. Okay? These boys did not come to play. In fact, they came to win. So, let's continue on the hamster wheel. You have Frazier and Axiom, who are currently champions, who had to fight, scratch, claw, and dig to get these titles. Okay, they were doing everything in their power to get these championships. They had a one last ditch effort. And if they did not win the championships, they would go their separate ways and no longer be partners. But they ended up beating Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin, who were the current tag team champions at the time, on their last ditch effort and became tag team champs. Love that for them. But of course, Gallows and Anderson, they was peeping, they was watching. They were there at that time because they were paying attention. Yes, see, they originally made their challenge towards Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin. Now, I don't remember if they ever had a title shot while they were champion. I don't think that they did. I think they were in a championship tournament. They ended up losing, and Axiom and Nathan Frazier ended up winning, and they became champions later on down the line. They got a second shot at those titles, and they became champs. Now, some time ago, Gallows and Anderson got in their head and they was no longer going to wait for an opportunity, so they decided to attack Axiom and Frazier. Attack them multiple times. The first time they attacked them, this is what gained them the title shot at NXT Battleground. Then the next attack was this past week on NXT, where they saw the boys in the merch truck and went in there and they commenced to beating their asses in that merch truck. Now, later on in the night, Axiom and Frazier came out of the training facility or the trainer's medical room and basically was just like, that little beat down didn't mean nothing. All it means is that you know how to come up on us when we are at our most vulnerable moments. But he said what really defines you as a champion and as a fighter is somebody who knows how to get up when the chips are down. When you got punched, kicked, and your ass has been whooped, you still got the strength and the mental capacity to get your ass back up and fight again. I don't know about y'all, but I only like getting my ass whooped once. Okay, that's a message that I don't need to be having more than once. You know what I'm saying? After a while, message received. I'm going to move forward and proceed. Not fucking with you no more, because clearly you gonna whoop my ass. So I'm gonna go this way, okay? And you make sure you handle that. All right? That's pretty much where I'm at. But Nathan and Frazier and Axiom, they like getting their asses whooped, apparently. So they're going to be wrestling Gallows and Anderson at NXT Battleground. Now, are they going to win? I doubt it. I doubt that they're going to win, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I think Nathan, Frazier, and Axiom are amazing superstars and wonderful in-ring performers. But if I'm being real, and I'm being fair, I don't have my money placed on a fraction. I can't even get the names right. Axiom Frazier to win. However, what I've come to understand when it comes to WWE more specifically is that they are very heavy on tropes. And Triple H and Shawn Michaels tend to have a telltale. Vince used to have a telltale, but then he, started switching up the tempo a little bit on us. But Triple H and Shawn Michaels very rarely deviate from the script. And it looks like Gallows and Anderson may not win those titles so easily and so quickly. I think, I'm going to be honest, I think that Frazier and Axiom are going to retain, but they will end up dropping them either midways to NXT Heatwave or they will drop them at Heatwave. I think they will drop them before that, probably on a random NXT day on a Tuesday. Yeah, I do. I genuinely do. And I hate that for them. But at the same time, for them to go over on Gallows and Anderson, that's a pretty amazing feat. Yeah? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Let us move into a new space, ladies and gentlemen. Let us move into the 6-woman ladder match for the Women's North American Championship. Now, this actually has quite the story. I'm going to try to embellish and make it as pretty as possible because it's what I do. But anyways, listen, this is probably one of the most important title matches in NXT in all of WWE. Why? Because one, it sets the tone for what the main roster could possibly do with the Women's Mid-Card Championship. And two, it gives the women of NXT something else to fight for, and they ain't got to be a tag team to do it. I am so excited for this match. Not only that, but there is a lot of color on my screen. All the girls are either black or they are biracial. And I love that. And then we got Fallon. And then we got Fallon. And then we got Fallon. Because Fallon is a whole white woman. So I love Fallon. I think Fallon is a great wrestler and character. I don't have an issue with Fallon, but I can't help but be excited for all the melaninated women that are on my screen. I'm so happy for all of them. These are my top 4 in the 6 for this match. Lash Legend, Ruka, Mi Chen, and none other than Fallon. So, those are my top girls. Lash Legend, Ruka, Mi Chen, and Fallon. Those are the girls I believe have the greatest shot at becoming the very first inaugural the women's North American champion. Okay? So, the reason why I counted out Miss Jada Parker and Kaylani Jordan is because while Jada Parker has an amazing character and it's working for her, I do think that there is some growth that she needs to do before I would put a title on her. At least that's just in my opinion. I feel like she needs a better feud to round her out a bit, to give her a little bit more depth. Kaylani Jordan is another one. Kaylani's great. She's been in a lot of big matches. But at the same time, I feel like this title really needs somebody who is solid, set, and ready to go. And they have something that they can use and they have something that they can add in terms of really building this title and setting the tone for this title. You feel me? Now, let's get into the top 4 and who I think isn't going to win the championship. As much as I love Lash, and she has always been one of my favorite people coming into NXT 2.0, I don't think Lash is going to win this championship. Do I think that it would be great if she could? Yes, I do. I think it would be amazing if Lash Legend won that title, but I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. Another person I don't think is going to win, and this is probably going to be controversial, and everybody's going to go, yes. What do you mean? So Ruka. I don't see Soul winning this championship either. Soul was able to get that pin this past Tuesday. She was all over that championship. And while, like I said, Triple H and Shawn Michaels are very big on tropes, usually when you're the victor and have all the momentum going into a match, you legitimately do not win. In fact, you are always the one who gets counted out first. And I am sorry, but I'm going to stick to that rule because that has never failed me. And I don't believe that Soul is going to win this championship either. Then we come down to Mi Chen and Fallon. These are my top two picks. The two women who more than likely will become the Women's North American Champion is between Mi Chen and Fallon. Quite frankly, I would give it to Mi Chen. I feel like out of all of the women in this match, she has the most tenure, she's got the veteran status, and she definitely can do what is necessary to make this title the true stepping stone that it needs to be heading to the big belt, which is the NXT Women's Championship. She also can really set a cool foundation for this Women's North American Championship and really help build it into a prestigious title that people covet and want because she has it. But they got to give her the time to shine and the right opponents to make it work for her. And I think that they can do that. Fallon is another good choice. Fallon is a heel now, and a lot of people prefer a heel over a face character. Mi Chen is more of an anti-hero type of girl. She doesn't give full-on baby face. Mi Chen's going to get in your face. She's going to give you some sass. She's going to give you some attitude, and we love that, which is why I feel like Mi Chen can kind of teetotal the line. She can kind of be good on both I'ma beat your ass type of front and girl, you better back the fuck up type of front. You know what I'm saying? Like she's got that vibe that can really give you everything you need as a champ. Fallon is going to be a one-way street. She's going to be a heel. She's going to cheat and everything else. And I don't understand how people equate prestigiousness with cheating and basically stealing matches, but go off, sis. Whatever makes you happy. While I understand why Fallon would be a good pick, to me, I feel like it needs to go to someone who really has put in the time and the effort in WWE and somebody who deserves it more than anything is Mi Chen. And it's no shade to Fallon and all the work Fallon has done and put in, but in my opinion, Mi Chen deserves this title more than anybody. I'm going to stick with my pick. My heart is telling me Mi Chen, and I'm going to go with that. Logic is telling me that Fallon is going to win. And my homeboy Cinco said that she was going to win on a recent podcast we did with Midwest Melody Mafia. And if you haven't listened to it, please do. It is over on YouTube right now. And that is the only place that you can stream that particular episode. We talk about our founder and our friend, the former tradie. He passed away this year, and it's been very rough on us. As a family, we have decided that we're going to continue to move forward because that's what that man wanted, and that's what he worked for. So shout out to you, tradie. We love you, and we miss you very, very much. But we're going to keep on pressing because I've picked for the tag teams. I have picked for the Women's North American Championship, and now it's time to get into the other matches on the card. The triple threat match for the NXT Men's North American Championship is a very interesting one. This one requires a little bit more nuance to tell the story. So let us sit back and relax and talk about this hot, juicy gossip in the words of Bailey Zarian. If you don't know who Bailey Zarian is, she's the queen of makeup and murder over on YouTube. I really like her. She's amazing. But anyways, let's get into it. Wesley, our favorite NXT North American champion, he was one, if not the one, to put that title up on the line at every shot that he could. He was given very much Seth Rollins, a workhorse champion, if I was to ever see one. And he did it so much that it almost destroyed him. Wesley ended up having to leave NXT for well over 9 months, was gone, having back surgery and rehabbing. Wesley's injury was severe and damn near career ending. So much so that he was losing feeling in his legs and he was in excruciating pain all the time. Wesley had to leave to rehab, to refocus, and collect himself. And that he did. In the meantime, there was someone who had to pick up the reins and start this new train for the North American Championship. Somebody had to push this thing forward and give this championship what it deserved. Not only what it needed, but what it deserved. Before Wesley had to leave for his surgery, he was the longest reigning North American champion in history. And his title reign saw him go through a plethora of people that really helped solidify that North American championship as something to want and need. And so Wesley went through everybody except for Dominic Mysterio. See, everybody in Judgment Day had belts, and Dominic was the one Lone Ranger, and he needed a championship to make sure that he had something to hold high over his head as if he was the king of Siam. Because, Rhea's champ, Damien and Finn are champs, and he just looks like a chump. A chump? Well, of course, Wesley was open to wrestling anybody. But he underestimated Dominic Mysterio and the capabilities of the Judgment Day and how far they were going to go to run roughshod over all of WWE. And this set forth a chain of events that led to the potential, and not only the potential, but the actual championship reign of none other than Oba Femi. It took a little bit of time to get to Oba, but not only did we go through Dominic Mysterio, we went through Trick Williams for one day. And then we went through Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee gets the title thanks to a little interference from Dom's dad. And we have a rival champion again in Dragon Lee. Now, in the midst of that time is right around the time that Wesley had to leave for this back surgery. And in that time frame, Dragon Lee was champ and was challenging and having really good title feuds. More specifically, matches, not necessarily a feud. Had a decent match with Nathan Frazier. I believe he went up against Axiom a couple of times. And then Oba Femi enters the picture. Now, the way Oba entered into this title picture was not only did he win the men's breakout tournament, but instead of using it for the big kahuna, he used that championship contract for the mid-card title. It says that you can use it for any championship. It says it for a championship reign. So Oba used it for the mid-card title, and he beat Dragon Lee. They ended up going one-on-one, and Oba Femi won again. Dragon Lee ended up going off into the sunset on the main roster, and Oba Femi began his dominance. And as he puts it, he was destined to be champion because he is coming from royal blood. He is a descendant from Nigerian kings, and no one can take that from him. Well, Oba Femi had many challengers, and all fell before Oba. Even Ivar, Josh Briggs, and Dominic Dijakovic, or Dijak as he likes to refer to himself. All of Oba's challengers have fallen, and no one has been able to best him. And then Oba Femi comes out in all his bravado, talking his cash shit, and none other than the man who made that title prestigious and coveted. Wesley comes out and makes a declaration that he is 100% ready to go, and he is willing to challenge Oba Femi for that title. Now, of course, Ivar and Briggs were all in their feelings and were like, no. We want a shot. No, I want a shot. No, I want a shot. Now, to be fair, Oba has beaten both Ivar and Josh Briggs. But both of them felt like they made compelling arguments to go up against Oba Femi again. Well, Oba decided to let the boys handle it themselves. He said, listen, I am not in the business of picking my opponents. That is for you to handle. I will wait to see who is the victor, and then I will do my job in making sure you don't get anywhere near my championship. Well, the game was set, and the match was on. The boys had their match. There was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of backbiting, there was a lot of mess and drama. But ultimately, Wesley, Josh Briggs, and Ivar didn't get the opportunity to have their match. And it was mainly because of Gallus. You see, Gallus came out of nowhere. No one knew where they went or why they left in the first place. We were just glad that they were gone. But unfortunately for us, they decided to rear their ugly heads and return to NXT to dominate, as they put it. When really all Gallus does is attack from behind, yell and scream in the microphone about beer and how they're dominating and they're number one, and then they go away for months at a time. That's pretty much the way that things went with Gallus. I mean, do with that what you will. But that's my assessment of them. Outside of kayfabe, are they a good tag team? Are they a good faction? Yes. Do I think that their characters are flawed? Yes, because there's not really much to them other than they like to drink beer and they yell and they're always mad. That's pretty much the description of all of them. Jeff and various stages of anger. You ever seen Inside Out with a dad? All of his emotions are anger. That's pretty much Gallus. That's pretty much them. That's pretty much how I see them. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. Anyways, Gallus made their presence known by attacking Briggs and Ivar. They took out Ivar, so Ivar is injured and cannot compete in any way, shape, or form. So he lost his opportunity to go after Oba Femi once again for that NXT North American Championship. And instead of picking someone else or just letting Briggs and Wesley go at it in this match, Briggs and Wesley insisted that Joe Coffey be added to the match because they wanted the opportunity to get their hands on him. Which, in hindsight, makes me go, that was dumb. I definitely wouldn't have given him an opportunity at becoming champion or going into a championship match. Absolutely not. I definitely would have requested a one-on-one match with Joe Coffey after I had my triple threat match for the title with Oba Femi. Then I would have been like, give me Joe Coffey. But I'm not going to ask you to add him and lessen my chances of going to NXT Battleground. Something about that just screams stupid. Yeah, it just screams dumb. And I love Wesley. I love him. I think Josh Briggs is great. But I do think there was an error in your behavior, or rather, in your choices. Yes, there was an error there. The error was you not counting Joe Coffey as a true threat to your opportunity at becoming the North American champion against Oba Femi. You just figured that you two would probably get the opportunity to beat this man down, and then it would come down to you and Wesley, or Wesley and you, in terms of, whoever I'm talking to. It was you and Wesley, or Briggs and you. You know what I'm saying? Whichever way you want to look at it. We're getting all flustered and mixed up. Jesus. Now, I had to pause and settle. Okay, here we go. So, because Joe Coffey was added to the match, he too would gain an opportunity to go after Oba Femi for this Men's North American Championship. And so they had their match. But the decision was finalized, but not in the way that you would think. You see, in that triple threat match, both Joe Coffey and Wesley pinned Josh Briggs. So when the referee counted both of them as the victor. And because the rest decision is final, that means that Wesley and Joe Coffey are now facing off against Oba Femi at NXT Battleground. And of course, Oba Femi's not a happy camper because he planned to go up against one man, not to. Now, Oba's defended his title in a triple threat once before, but it worked out in his favor. However, I don't think that this time is going to bend to Oba Femi's will. In fact, I think it's going to be quite the opposite. I think, and this pains me to say this, that Joe Coffey is going to walk out of NXT Battleground as your men's North American champion. Unfortunately, we're going to have to listen to Joe Coffey with his stiff twerking, scream in the microphone about how great he is and how much of a psychopath he is. We're going to be stuck listening to that for quite some time. Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, for a whirlwind of bullshit. I just don't see how this is going to work out in Oba Femi's favor. And I don't see them putting that title back on Wesley that quickly. In fact, if I were WWE and they decide to pull the trigger on Ethan Page and immediately pull Trick Williams out, this is me outside of storyline, I would put Wesley in the league or in the running to become champion very soon. I would let him go after Coffey a couple more times. He would probably lose due to interference with Gallows. They would have some type of tournament, I guess, and then determine the number one contender for the title, and that would be after NXT Heatwave would come up. You know what I mean? So I would kind of give it a little bit of time to move forward. A month or two, a month, maybe a month and a half is enough time, in my opinion. But I don't think that Oba Femi is going to be champion for much longer. But he did great as a champion. However, I think that they want a much stronger, hated heel than Oba Femi. Oba Femi tried to be a heel, but the crowd loves him too much for him to be a heel. So he's more of an anti-hero than he is a heel, which to me works and plays into his favor. However, unfortunately, we are stuck listening to Gallows scream in the microphone about drinking and how everyone sucks and they're great. So, yes, life is about to get very, very loud and drunk. Anyways, let's move on to the other title matches, because if I recall, we have 3 more left, and this one is a non-title bout. This one has everything to do with who is the better fighter. Is it none other than the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, or is it y'all new ass shaking queen, Lola Weiss? Let's start at the beginning. Lola Weiss burst onto the scene at the Women's Breakout Tournament and became the number 1 woman in that tournament. She won the Women's Breakout Tournament, but she wasn't successful in her cash-in like Oba Femi was. In fact, she did it in the dumbest way that you could ever do it. Instead of waiting until Roxanne Perez was down on her luck and down and out, she decided that it was best to wait in the middle of a feud to cost Roxanne Perez her championship, but not only cost Roxanne her championship, cost herself the opportunity to gain the championship by any means necessary. She cashed in the middle of a feud with Roxanne and Lyra and made the match into a triple threat, but didn't utilize the benefits of the triple threat and just basically went into this as a normal match and then left empty-handed. Went in with all the power and all the glory and left the match empty-handed. Ever since then, she's been on a downward spiral. Lola Weiss is no threat to anybody, especially the NXT Women's Championship. I'm sorry. Some of you may disagree with me. I don't. I believe that I'm right, and I usually am. In my opinion, while she's a great fighter, and I do think that there are elements of her that make her a decent wrestler, she's so busy worrying about scowling and squinting at people that she's not really paying attention to character development and what makes her fun to watch. A lot of the men, which are a lot of her fans, that like Lola are because she shakes her ass on camera every day and screams she's a Latina, which we know that. I don't we don't have to be told. We can see it, we know it, and we love that for you. Shayna, on the other hand, is a totally different beast. In fact, Shayna Baszler hasn't been on the brightest of roads as of lately, but she still is one of the most dominant and dangerous women in all of WWE. Not just NXT, but the entire company as a whole. Now, the way these two women came to collide was Shayna Baszler decided to be the trainer's esque sparring partner, mentor for Lola Weiss, going up against Natalya in the very first women's NXT Underground match. You see, Lola had been insulting Natalya for weeks, attacking her from behind, disrespecting her. And it got to the point where the two women just could not contain their anger, and it became volatile, where the attacks were happening more frequent backstage rather than just in the ring. So, Ava, in order to keep the peace, made a match between the two women in NXT Underground. And she decided to make it in that match because Lola had been fighting Natalya on her turf. Natalya is one of the greatest wrestlers of our time, both technical and, of course, in an entertainment value. She also is one of the longest veterans on the roster in terms of tenure. She's gone through at least 3 different eras of wrestling that I can recall, and Natalya just is what she claims to be, which is the boat. Now, this entire time that they have been fighting has completely been on Natalya's turf. So, out of respect for her opponent, Natalya decided that the best way to prove and to best Lola at her own game is to do it inside her own backyard, which is in an MMA style fight. Lola comes from the world of MMA. She's a fighter at her core. And she has great form, if I'm being honest with you. But Lola also knows that in these NXT Underground matches, wrestling does matter. You need those skills. You need to be a well-rounded fighter. Not just a mixed martial artist, but just a fighter in general and well-versed in all different fighting styles. And if you can master wrestling, then you can master mixed martial arts. You can have a dangerous cocktail to compete in this style of fighting. Well, she needed Shayna's help, so she decided to train with Shayna. Lola Weiss almost lost that match at NXT Underground. In fact, while this may have been her territory, she was severely outmatched by Natalya. The only way that she won was because Shayna was choking out Carmen and caused a distraction for Natalya, and Lola was able to pick up the W, which was a sorry ass way for Lola Weiss to win in a match that was literally built for her style of fighting. Now, Lola, instead of being proud of her win, decided to celebrate with a good old cha-cha-cha, hip shaking, leg kicking, everything you can think of, and she's obviously a Latina. Now, Shayna ain't with the bullshit. Shayna's like, keep it professional. Shaking your ass in the middle of the ring is unnecessary. And quite frankly, when you win, celebrate how you want, but the ass shaking, leave that shit on Instagram, bro. Lola wasn't trying to hear that shit. She like, just because I'm a fighter and I'm out here living my best life don't mean I can't have some fun and shake my ass when I feel like it. And Shayna's just like, girl, leave the ass shaking in the back, okay? Because we don't have time. Now, over the next couple of weeks after this win, Carmen Pejovic decided she wanted to get some goosh. She wanted to have a little bit get back in her folk. But she was mad. Number one, that Shayna Baszler choked her out. And number two, she was pissed that Natalya lost because of her. And Natalya was just like, girl, shit happens. People do shit all the time. The real way you test your ability to move forward is how you bounce back, bitch. And Carmen was like, you know what, you're right. She was like, what I do want you to do, though, is get you a little bit more tenacity. You know, get you a little bit more audacity. Get you a little bit more toughness. Toughen up. Get hard. Go out here and go after these hoes. Don't let them come at you like that. Carmen said, yeah, I could do that. Sir. As time progressed and Shayna Baszler kept popping her ass up over in NXT, running around with Lola while she's shaking her ass every 5 minutes after each match, Carmen was just like, I ain't got time for this bullshit. I'm tired of you hoes coming out of nowhere. I can't go nowhere. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. She was like, you bitches always starting shit with me. If y'all want a piece of us, y'all can meet us in the match next week. Tag team match, baby. Let's go. Okay? So, they had their match. And of course, Carmen and Natalia won. And it was Lola who they picked with none other than the Heart Attack, a la the Heart Foundation. Well, this did not go well with Shayna, okay? But as a team player and as what she thought was an acquaintance slash possible friend, she went over to Lola to help her friend up and basically tell her, like, you know what, good game, dust yourself off, we'll start over. And Lola wasn't trying to hear it. Lola kicked that bitch in her head and then twerked over her laid out on the mat. Then got on the outside of the ropes and was dancing on the outside, just shimmying and shaking. Shayna had snapped. She had it. She ended up choking this bitch out. Not only on the outside of the ring, but drug her ass back into the ring and then choked her out in the middle of the ring. Baby, when I tell you it was a thing of beauty, it was wonderful. It was beautiful. I was like, oh my God. I understand now why Drew McIntyre said he prayed for CM Punk downfall. I'm kidding, by the way, because some of y'all are just, y'all have no sense of humor. Be it dark or light, you just don't. And it sucks. I feel so bad for you, lovelies. Anyway, this has led to a complete combustion of Shayna Baszler and Lola Weiss' unholy union. These two women have been going at each other's throats, okay? And Shayna is not with the shits. As they continue to fight and backbite, they even came out there and said, hell no, y'all not gonna fuck up my show with your bullshit. Y'all wanna fight? Fine. At NXT Underground, it's gonna be Shayna Baszler versus Lola Weiss. Be done with it. Shayna snatched that microphone from Aiden. She said, bitch, nah, we fighting NXT Underground. And they been going at it. Now, after that, Lola had herself a little bitty match and decided she wanted to go out there and show everybody what she was capable of. I believe it was against Ariana Grace. Now, Lola went out there and she beat Grace. And then she said, Shayna got two options. She said, I'm either going to knock her out or I'm going to choke you out. You choose, bitch. And Shayna was like, girl, there have been many before you, and there are going to be many after you who have tried and failed. And Shayna said, bitch, I can show you better than I could tell you. Them hoes start fighting again, and I had to pull them apart. Now, as much as I love Shayna Baszler taking out people on a regular basis, I cannot wait. This is going to be beyond satisfying for me because I don't like Lola Weiss. And as far as I'm concerned, she's not fun to watch, babe. She's not. So, I'd prefer Shayna Baszler would choke her out in the middle of the ring, and I think that is going to happen. It's going to happen just like that. And you know what? I am going to live, savor it. I'm going to enjoy every last bit of it because it's going to be worth it. You understand? Worth it. With all that being said, of savoring it, let's get into Roxanne Perez and the mess that has been going on with her. You see, Roxanne is a two-time NXT Women's Champion. And for some reason, Roxanne has she has this imaginary chip on her shoulder. Like the whole world is against her. And she literally has no proof to any of that. Because out of all of the women in that locker room in NXT, she has had the most opportunities at that championship. Not only is she a two-time champion, but she has received opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to get that title. No matter how many obstacles have been put in her way, she has bitched, she has moaned, she has cried, she has complained, and every single time she gets her way. Yet, her mind, in whatever little brain that she has left, she seems to believe that the world is against her and nobody wants to give her anything. I've earned the right to do this. When in all actuality, she earned nothing. Roxanne Perez, out of everyone in that locker room, including those who were not brought up to from NXT, was probably given the most opportunities. And a lot of those opportunities could have been given to those women who are currently in the NXT Women's North American Championship match. Roxanne didn't have to be champion, nor did she need to be champion, but they made her champion. Now, me personally, I have no personal issues with Roxanne, but as a character, I believe she's quite flawed in her viewpoint of the way this works. She seems to believe that she was owed this championship and she got it on her own merit. Never mind the fact that she did everything in her power to make sure Lyra Valkyria was not at her 100% so that she could beat her and there would be no questions asked. And every chance she gets, she's been weaseling her way out of actual title defenses against her opponents. And she finds some kind of loophole or slipping her way out of a match. It's always on a roll up or something weird. It's just a slimy way to maintain yourself as champion. It's nasty and it sucks. It's worse than when Mandy was champ. That's going a bit far. Let's rewind and freeze. I won't give Roxanne that much hell. It's kind of like when Carmella was champion, where you know there were more women who were more qualified to be champion, but Carmella always found a way to weasel her way out of losing a match. She would either use someone as interference or she would cheat, which is very similar to Roxanne Perez's second title reign as NXT Women's Champion. But I digress. Now, of course, Ava is sick and tired of one, her disrespect towards her, and number two, her constant incessant nagging and bitching and complaining. On one hand, she feels like she doesn't have to defend her title because she's defended it before and she doesn't need to. On the other hand, she's pissed off that she wasn't selected in the draft because she was champion and she deserved to be selected. And then on the other hand, she never wants to drop the title. She wants to be champion forever. And then on the other hand, she feels as though there is no one who is capable to challenge her to take that title off of her. Do you understand how delusional you have to be to one, get mad that you weren't selected in the draft, and then say you're never giving up the titles? Which means you're never leaving NXT, babe. So why were you mad that you didn't get drafted? Not to mention, Ava made it very clear that WWE froze all champions in place. So champions were not allowed to leave their respective brands. Although I think that was a major mistake. But that's just me. Okay? Anywhoosies, Roxanne has been popping off at the mouth. And of course, because a lot of the girls who could possibly challenge her for the title were currently in the running to go for the North American Championship for the women, there wasn't really a lot of talk about who Roxanne's opponent was going to be at NXT Battleground. And this led to a lot of mystery and intrigue. You see, they made a major announcement about Roxanne Perez. And instead of doing it the night that she burst into Ava's office acting like a child, she called Pierce and Adam and they all had a conversation and they agreed to one thing, that they were fine with this particular person challenging Roxanne Perez for the title. And who would that person be but none other than the current Knockouts Women's Champion, Jordynne Grace. One of the most decorated knockouts in Knockouts history for that damn championship. Jordynne Grace has made her name with that Knockouts title. And if you don't know, now you know. Not only has she transformed herself into more than just Jordynne Grace, but she's also become the Juggernaut, a massive, beautiful woman who is muscular, strong, and just outright dominant. This is going to be one of Roxanne Perez's greatest challenges. Jordynne Grace is no slouch. She never has been, and she never will be. So Roxanne's just not going to be able to bowl over her. She's definitely going to need a little bit of help, which I think she's going to get in the form of Tatum Paxley. But let's stick to the little plot between Jordynne and Roxanne. You see, Roxanne was blindsided by Jordynne. She expected someone from the roster that was, being pushed up to take that title off of her. She was more prepared for a current NXT superstar than a complete outsider from a different company coming in and challenging her for her championship. Now, if you look at this from a different perspective, all of the cards are on the table, and this is where you separate the women from the girls. You gotta be able to maintain yourself as a champion. If you let a woman from a different company come in and take your title from you, not only are you beatable, but you have just opened the door for everybody else in WWE who is holding a championship to be put on notice that other people are eyeing your belt besides those who are walking beside you every day. You are literally creating a new target for every champion in WWE, and that is not good. Even though those doors have opened, and this is a forbidden door that no one thought would be open, you will set a precedence, a domino effect of events that come from you only and how you behave and act in terms of defending and keeping this title. Roxanne Perez has a lot on her plate right now. She is bearing the brunt of the WWE, if we're being fair. This is TNA versus WWE. And if Roxanne ain't ready, she better get ready. Because not only did TNA throw their best, they threw one of their greatest and a first ballot Hall of Famer for Jordynne Grace. She is literally the best of the best on that roster. TNA is like, we're coming at you full force, man. And WWE decided, well, they had no choice. Roxanne is their champion and savior. So how's this going to play out, babes? I don't know. But something tells me that Tatum Paxley is going to interfere and cost Jordynne Grace this opportunity. And of course, our champion, Roxanne Perez, is going to weasel her ass up out of this match as champion for now. The final match that's supposed to happen at NXT Battleground is between Trick Williams and Ethan Page. Now, this is a turn of events. It is very much an M. Night Shyamalan twist because no one expected Ethan Page to pop up in NXT, and it was very quiet. Mouse quiet. Too quiet. You see, just like Jordynne Grace was concealed from the world, so was Ethan Page, quietly behind the scenes working out a championship match with WWE and joining NXT. So much so, he decided to make his presence felt very, very quietly. You see, Trick Williams was in the midst of having a slow burner feud with Noam Dar. Noam Dar made it very clear that the very last time that he wrestled Trick Williams didn't necessarily beat him. His foot was under the ropes the whole time. Now they decided to make this into a grand old thing that Trick Williams' entire title reign was built on a lie. Blah, 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 blah. It was so stupid. It didn't work though. I mean, Trick Williams was just like, no, if you wanted a match, babe, all you had to do was ask. And of course, we had the underlining storyline of what was going on between Lash Legend and Trick Williams. Now, Lash and Trick been, dancing in the dark together for quite some time under the guise of, NXT and Metaphor, and of course, Trick Williams rose to the top of the ranks as the champ, beating Ilya Dragunov, but first things first, taking out Carmelo Hayes and solidifying himself and his legacy in NXT and bearing the brunt of just carrying the weight of NXT on his back, which we love that for Trick Williams. But there was somebody else who's been eyeing Trick Williams from afar, and that was all ego Ethan Page. You see, Ethan Page moves in the shadows. He's a thinking wrestler, which can be very dangerous. There are other guys who move in a similar fashion. Old school Chris Jericho, old school Mr. Kennedy. Guys who are like this are good at what they do, but they always have a plan B. And that can make them very, very dangerous. Because when plan A doesn't work, Plan B is far worse, and it usually involves something vicious. They have no filter, and Ethan Page definitely has no filter. He has solidified himself as a top heel in NXT with very little effort. Given the fact that he was able to take out Noam Dar and Oro Mensah because he felt like they were in his way, it means that Ethan Page not only is your true adversary, but he is a massive problem. And if given the opportunity, he will probably take that title from Trick Williams. And that's a scary, scary thought. Because not only is he capable of doing that, but that also means that he would be capable of maintaining it, which means longevity. And that means we will be in for the long haul with Ethan Page. I'm not saying it wouldn't be entertaining. I'm just saying it's going to be a long ride. With all that being said, let's get back to the story. Ethan Page was moving in the shadows. Noam Dar was trying to set himself up to be the next man to challenge Trick Williams for his championship. But there were some hitches in their plan. Noam Dar ended up getting taken out, and then he was gone from TV. Oro Mensah and, of course, Jakara accused Trick Williams right out the gate, mainly because they had their issues with Trick, and Lash was still intertwined with Trick romantically. Then when Oro got attacked, Jakara was like, you know it's Trick Williams. I don't know why you're acting like it's not him. We're supposed to be your family. You're letting him come in between us. I don't like it. You need to do something about it. And so Jakara left. Oro basically was in the trainer's room, and Lash decided to go and confront her beau. She went to Trick right after his match with Gallows and, with his tag team partner Javon. And of course, Sexy Red was there at the time. She made it very clear that while she liked him and they were cool, she wants to know the truth. She said, look me in my eyes and tell me the truth. Did you attack Oro? Did you attack Noam Dar? He had told her no once before. But before he could even say no again, the lights go out, they come back on really quickly, and Ethan Page decides to strike. Not only did he take out Trick Williams, but he laid out Lash Legend in the process. And then he grabbed the microphone and made it very clear that there was no mystery attacker. He was the one who took out Noam and he took out Oro. And then he went after Trick again. So the next week, he showed up to NXT in style, riding in his little bitty car. And of course, there was countless security and Ava standing there waiting with a contract. Ethan Page had called Shawn Michaels and made it very clear of his demands. He would only sign a contract with NXT if he was promised two things. Now, Ava made it seem like he had an extensive, pieces in his contract that gave him some things that, of course, everybody else was never even thought of to be guaranteed. But Ethan Page, all ego, was definitely going to get what he wanted. And Trick Williams was running around NXT, pissed and in his feelings, but he said, give him whatever he wants, as long as it means I can legally get my hands on Ethan Page. And of course, Ethan was all ego, as he puts it. Very arrogant, because he knew what the stipulations of his contract was, and he knew that Trick Williams, more specifically Ava, didn't want to agree to the stipulations of that contract. And those stipulations were that he would immediately be put in title contingency. He was going to be named the number one contender for NXT Battleground, and his first match in NXT was going to be against Trick Williams at NXT Battleground for the NXT Men's Championship. This is unheard of. Not unrealistic, because we've seen this before, but it is unheard of in NXT. Trick Williams agreed, to which Ava reluctantly had him sign the contract. More specifically, Ethan Page signed his signing bonus, I guess you can say. both of them Anderson in the ring, and they made it very clear that they were going to come out dominant in this match. Ethan Page told Trick Williams that this was not personal, that this was business. He said out of everything, he respected Trick Williams. He understood how he came out of Carmelo Hayes' half shadow, made a way for himself, moved up to the top, and was able to beat two top dominant NXT stars in Ilya Dragunov and in Carmelo Hayes. He said he respected that and he understood it. And Ethan Page said, I'm just doing my time. I'm just making my way the same way that you made yours. The only difference is you're the one holding the gold and I want it. So Trick Williams was like, I have no issues with that. But you coming in my house and you didn't wipe your feet. And I don't like that. So he was like, when I get done, I'm going to do what the audience always says I do, which is whoop that Trick. Raised his title over his head, and Ethan Page told him that it was his time, and his time was over, and he ain't whooping nothing. And the boys went off the air arguing. Now, from what I hear, a little birdie told me that Oro Mensah went out there after the show was over and went off the air and attacked Ethan Page. And if that's true, then I suspect heading into NXT Battleground, things are not going to go as easy as Ethan Page thinks. Quite frankly, I think it's going to be quite the opposite. He's going to lose his very first match in NXT. And it's going to be against Trick Williams, but it's not going to be because of Trick Williams. I think it's going to be because of metaphor. Ethan Page started it. I mean, he's the one who went after Noam Dar. He's the one who went after Oro Mensah. Had he had came in and attacked Oro, or more specifically Noam, after he had his match with Trick Williams, I don't think they would be as tight, if that makes sense. But I think that this is not going to end well for Ethan Page. I think that he cost himself a real opportunity by causing more ruckus than he needed to. He caused an uproar and a stir when he just needed to knuckle down and stay focused. And that, my friends, is NXT Battleground. And these are my picks to win. I think that Frazier and Axiom are going to retain their championships. I also think that Joe Coffey is going to be your next men's North American champion. I think it's going to come down to Mi Chen and Fallon. One of those women will be your new inaugural women's North American champion. I believe that Shayna Baszler is going to beat Lola Weiss. And I also think that not only is Lola Weiss going to lose, but so is Jordynne Grace. That was a tough pill to swallow. I don't think Jordynne Grace is going to beat Roxanne, whether she cheats on her own or Tatum Paxley comes in, she's going to lose. And finally, I believe wholeheartedly that Trick Williams is going to retain his championship at Battleground. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's your recap. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling, ranting, and raving about NXT Battleground. It's gonna be a 30, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's coming on Sunday on June 9th, so it's definitely something for you guys to enjoy. I will see you guys on Sunday when we recap it over on our YouTube. We just started our YouTube, and the Midwest Melanin Mafia is over on our YouTube right now. We got a new episode up where we talked about Battleground, we talked about AEW, we talked about WWE, we talked about everything. We even brought up Peyton McGuire, child. So go on over there and listen to that. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And on that note, I will see you guys next time. Bye.